Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Sports on the Positive Tip, where we have conversations at the intersection of sports and faith. I am joined by Kenny Squared, and here is our opening. Kenny, so I asked you this right before we went on air. So you're not familiar with what the Washington Wizards did and why they're apologizing today? No, right?
I mean, is it because they've lost too much?
No, because they're tanking. No, um, no. So So they did an April Fool's prank, but it was really actually quite cruel, I think. And then a lot of people thought, and you could tell the look on the guy's face. So you got to go watch the video afterwards. So you know how you do a halftime thing? Somebody shoots from half court. Different franchises have different things, right? So the Wizards set this up last night. They got all the mascots out there, and they blindfold a guy and they tell him, to shoot from half court. And and when they put on the scoreboard for the people to cheer, he doesn't see any of this. So he shoots, and of course he misses. He misses by quite a bit, but they make like, and the crowd cheers as if he got it because they say, "Oh, you made it," and they give him a check for $10,000. That was the prize for this. And so he's holding this big check, he's celebrating, and they say, "Wait, let's check the scoreboard," and they all gather around, they look up, and he sees that he missed. And they were like, "Oh, I'm sorry. We have to take the check back. We thought you hit it." I mean, he wasn't even close. The guy's face is like he's trying to be a good sport about it because it's April Fool's. So I didn't read into the article. I just read that the Wizards apologized. I'm hoping that they gave him something though. Like if not the full $10,000, give him $5,000. Your franchise is bad enough. You need a little bit of, good publicity. So, I mean, I would have been so upset had you done that. They were like, "What?" You know. But he was trying to be a good sport, but you could tell he was upset. Watch the video when you get a chance. It's cruel, but I think you can't help but chuckle a little bit. Because I don't,
That's
yeah,
that's brutal.
and I was like, where all these mascots come from? They had like six mascots. I'm like, the Wizards have all these mascots? What is this?
They have
Um,
more mascots than wins.
yeah, that's for sure. So two other quick things. Well, a couple other quick baseball notes in the opening. We'll get to baseball with your rankings, but figure throw this out there. Shea Langoliers with the A's has 5 home runs in the first 6 games. Big deal?
It's always a random guy. We'll
Yeah.
see what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you said random because I jotted this down here. There's been a lot of players that have had big Aprils, and I want to say either Craig Nettles of the Yankees, um, or maybe even I don't think it's Aaron Judge. I think it's someone from the Yankees that still holds the record for the most home runs in April. But I remember this, and you'll remember this. April of 2013. You remember John Buck, catcher for the Mets? They got him from the Royals. I mean, he was a good catcher for years, but he wasn't known for his hitting. He tore it up in April. In April, he had 9 homers and 25 RBIs, and he did nothing the rest of the way. I think he hit one more home run, and the Mets wound up trading him like to the Pirates. The Pirates were contending then. They wound up trading him to the Pirates in August. So there's players that start off great like that. I hope Langoliers has a great year, but there's players that start off great like that and don't seem to finish well. Who holds the record for the most homers in April?
Tied A-Rod 2007 and Albert Pujols 2006.
Oh, how many did they have? 12, 13?
14.
They have 14. Wow. I think Craig Nettles had 12 back in the day. And at the time, I'm sure that was a record. So A-Rod and Pujols both have 14 home runs in April. See, now those guys are an exception because I'm sure they finished up with great years, as well. And it just the random guy that starts off though like that usually falls off. Francisco Lindor. Listen, it's very early. I'm not worried about his hitting. He'll come along. But yesterday it was stunning in the game. And I was able to watch a good part of the game in the afternoon yesterday. But in the first inning, he loses track of the outs. And it's a ground ball to short. And I'm like, why is he walking over slow to get the force play? He walks over slow to get the force play, and then he starts going to the dugout. And there's only 2 outs instead of three. There was only, there was 1 out. He could have gotten the double play into the inning. As it turned out, Freddie Peralta, who pitched great yesterday, was able to get out of the inning And so he apologized. But then a few innings later, he's on first base and he spaces out. He got on first base on an error, and he spaced out. He's putting his gloves on, and they pick him off. I've never seen Francisco Lindor. He's one of the smartest players that I've ever seen, but he made two huge errors in this one game. And so I hope nothing, nothing to come. I don't think it will be, but he apologized, of course, a lot after. But I thought that was really, really strange. Okay, I have a question for you. A baseball game ended in a way the other day, I think yesterday, that it had never ended before. What happened?
Oh, I saw this. The it ended in a walk-off ABS call.
Yeah, that's
I love
right.
it.
Yeah. We'll talk about that when we get to baseball. And then, of course, that Sandy Alcantara, who you could tell was getting better at second half of last year after having Tommy John surgery. His first half was terrible, if you remember. But boy, he's come out looking great so far. He pitches a complete game, and they call it a Maddox-like complete game. 93 pitches. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Maddox is a complete game shutout under 100 pitches. He seems like he's back, and the Marlins right now are tied for the best record in baseball. A
Yeah.
fun stat that may not last very long, but
No, but the Marlins are going to be a tough out this year, I think. We saw it building last year. They've got a lot of good young players. I don't know why they still keep trading away their good pitchers, but they've got a lot of good young players. They're going to be a handful this year. I think they only finished a few games under 500 last year, so it'll be really, really interesting to see. All right, we got to talk about put a cap on the Final Four. It was just an unbelievable weekend of games. I know you were in and out of them. Talk a little bit about Dan Hurley, St. John's, and a little preview of this weekend, and then the championship game Monday. NBA, Knicks, Lakers. Who's going to be the MVP? I'd love to talk a little bit about that. We really have to get into this Jaden Ivey thing with the Bulls because I'm having a tough time pulling it apart. I'm just like, what's really going on here, And then, of course, you've got your baseball rankings and inspiration. You ready to get rolling?
let's get into it.
This episode of Sports on the Positive Tip is brought to you by the Tavern Coffee House. Attention, coffee lovers! Are you craving the perfect cup of coffee to start your day? Well, look no further than the Tavern Coffee House. It's located at 12302 Buckeye Road in Cleveland, Ohio. You can also check them out and order your coffee at thetaverncoffee.com. Hey there, everybody. It's Kenny and
Kenny squared.
the Sports on the Positive Tip podcast. Kenny, what a great time of year, and this hasn't disappointed. We've had a really interesting first week of baseball, and we had quite the weekend of games in the Sweet 16 and Elite Eight last week rather. The Final Four is all set. Not really a Cinderella, I think, if you want to count the Fighting Illini, maybe, but they played great throughout. But it was all about UConn and Duke, and the shot for the ages with Braylon Mullins hitting that shot. What was it, probably at least 40 feet, right? Because he was near the logo, the Final Four logo there. You were talking. We had you on the phone at the time, and I kept saying, "Tell Kenny to turn the game on," because they were 19 points down, UConn, and Duke couldn't put them away. And those are legitimate stars. The Boozer brothers are definitely legitimate NBA players. Both of them. I feel bad for. It was Cade, right? That made the bad play at the end. But I mean, I put it a little bit more on their coach, who's a great coach. But I mean, you got to either call timeout there, right? Because they have one more timeout left. Or everybody has to know you hold on to the ball. Let them come and follow you. I mean, it was less than 10 seconds left. Well, they got the ball with I think 10 seconds left, right? And then he hits the shot, the 3-pointer. And man, oh man, what an amazing, amazing moment. And Duke and UConn have had a few of these over the years. But now then UConn now goes to the Final Four. They're number 2 seed and they get in, but they're a great team. They've got some really good, a couple of, I think, NBA players on their team. What were your thoughts on that game and the Final Four? And then I want to ask you about Dan Hurley.
Yeah, it's watching that ending is definitely one of those that you that like I mean, I know how much you really love and I love it too, the one shining moment. Like if
Yeah,
that's not like the
yeah,
centerpiece of it, I'd be surprised.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
Um I do think it's one of those moments too where it's like, man, the last thing that you do is like all you have to do, you have the lead. All you have to do is just hold on to the ball. Like there's no reason to throw it. Like if you're gonna throw it, you throw that so that it hits the ceiling.
yeah,
And that's basically it.
yeah,
Um I think I love okay, so one of the things that we see it in the NBA too, but also I think we've seen it more in college, especially this year. I mean, Duke was down by double digits in a lot of these games that they were playing.
yeah,
The advent of the three has made these type of comebacks a lot easier to do.
yeah, yeah.
Um, because I mean, and college basketball game, it's a lot shorter. So when you're down by 20, it's not like you have 18, 19, like you don't have a lot of time to come back.
Right.
But with the three, I think it really helps. Um, UConn again making it to the Final Four. Like, imagine if you're a UConn fan. I saw a post about being a Boston fan around my age, and you've seen the Red Sox win championships, you've seen Patriots win championships, and now also you also root for UConn. It's just not fair.
Yeah.
Um, but I do think it's like it is interesting because I agree there's not like the huge Cinderella story, and I feel like a lot of the very high profile guys that are making it into the NBA didn't really have their signature moment here in this tournament. The way that we've seen more in the past, where guys like a Zion, well, Zion didn't really have it either, but like the one that always sticks out in my head is Steph Curry, where his
Yeah.
run, his Cinderella run, really kind of put him on the map.
It sure did.
Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like we didn't really see that, which is fine. These guys will be NBA stars. I agree with the boozers there. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think overall it's been a fun tournament. We've had a lot of really like tight games, not a ton of upsets.
Yeah.
I don't think I mentioned this last week. I saw a stat that each of the last 2 years, the 14, 15, 16 seeds are winless. Um, which that's since they expanded to 64, that's the only time, like, it's only the second time that's happened back to back years.
Oh,
So
okay.
people are concerned
Yeah.
that like we're losing the Cinderella. But like I
Yeah.
think you see like Texas made a pretty deep run as an 11 seed. Like you see it a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just a little different now.
Yeah. Yeah. And they've if you've noticed, have you heard the term mid-major much at all during this tournament? I haven't heard them say it at all. It's almost like they've eliminated that because it is a lot more of an equal playing field with the portal now, right? Where players, that might be on a really good top program may transfer somewhere where they could be the star, and so you don't hear that term anymore. So that surprises me this year. But it's either been one or the other for me. I think there was so many really good close games, but there were a lot of blowouts too. In the tournament. I want to come back to UConn for a second because the UConn women, excuse me, are also in the Final Four. Do you know how many times Gino Auriemma has gotten the women into the Final Four?
800? I would actually
You're
guess
not.
maybe 12.
You're not far off. 25. He's been to the
Oh my
Final Four
gosh.
with them 25 times, and they have a chance to repeat. Now, the UConn men, if they take this, they're 2 games away. They'd win 3 out of 4, which these days, that is spectacular. And I've thought this for the last 20, 25 years, and I've told you this, I think, before, that I always felt like UConn kind of fell under the radar. You always think about Duke. We talked about this last week, right? You think about Duke, Kentucky, North Carolina, UCLA. You think about Kansas. Those are kind of the pillars of college basketball over the years. But left out of that conversation is how consistent UConn has been. over the years from Jim Calhoun. I think he won 3 championships in his years over probably a 10 or 12 year span. And then even the Kevin Ollie, who took over for him, won one. And now you've got Dan Hurley, who is about to could win his third. It's not going to be easy though, because we'll get to Michigan and Arizona in a second, but especially Arizona. But I got to ask you about Dan Hurley. He's a little bit of a nut, right? I love him. I mean, he's kind of a throwback college basketball coach where the coaches that will be ranting and raving on the sidelines, running up and down. You don't see that nearly as much, but he kind of fits that mold. But what did you think of what he did with the ref, where he got kind of in his face? They clunked foreheads, and the ref apparently they know each other very well. But probably they're not great friends. Neither one of them said that. But there seemed to be no explanation for this. Because if the ref had called a tech there, remember in college, if you call a tech, it's 2 shots, not one. And that could have been. Can you imagine if the I'm glad he chose not to, but there seemed to be no explanation. Do you know what I'm talking about? Did you see that clip?
Yeah, I didn't understand it either.
Yeah. What was he thinking? I guess he wasn't thinking, right?
Yeah, I was a little surprised that he was that bold about it because
Yeah.
like the game wasn't over. It's point 0.3 seconds.
I,
And like I still don't agree with it. And like you said, he's kind of a nut. Seems like he would fit well, honestly, on the Lakers. Um, but like um it was a very bold move.
yeah.
And I'm also surprised that obviously like the ref was probably like, what the heck?
Yeah.
But like, what about the other referees that were on there? How did like nobody address it?
I-
And
yeah.
yeah, if he got a tech and that's how they lost,
Oh
imagine
my
the
gosh.
story behind
Then he can't come back. They be like, wait a minute, you can't come back. But his jacket is half off and he keeps it that way, for the rest of his time. If that and that probably happened in the celebration, right? I get it. But can you imagine if Roy Williams or Bill Self or some of these older guys that have been around a while, they would have pulled it right up, and gotten more, Rick Pitino even. Rick Pitino's still wearing his suit on the sidelines. Hurley is a nut. See, I'll disagree with you on the Laker thing. I don't think he's an NBA coach. I think he's built to be a college coach. I think in the NBA he'd burn himself out pretty quickly, right? Because you imagine with an 82 game season, with that type of enthusiasm that he shows every game, I just don't know. And maybe I believe I remember reading that's one of the reasons he turned it down. It was more his family. He didn't want to move his wife across the country, and everybody can understand that. Um, but Kenny, what's your final thoughts on St. John's and Rick Pitino and the job he did? Um, Boy, they came close, man, and Duke was I thought was vulnerable, but I don't think the vulnerability was why they lost. I mean, their great players played, even the guy that was hurt. Um, and they really played a great game, especially the last 5 minutes against St. John's. But St. John's, I think, is back. And Patino, man, he's ageless. They just signed him to another long-term contract. And he's in his element here in New York because he's a New Yorker. And Ejiofor, I doubt if Ejiofor stays. He looks like he's destined for the NBA. Looks like he'll be a pretty good power forward. What's your final thoughts on the season that St. John's had and what their future looks like?
I feel like in the New York market, like I know because also there's Rutgers, but like every once in a while there's sometimes somewhat interesting in football.
Yeah,
Um, I think this St. John's team may have captured New York a little bit.
yeah,
And I think because of that, you can start taking that momentum into next year.
yeah,
Um, and also, there's a lot of appeal for going to a historic school like St. John's that has historically not won in a long time.
yeah,
And you have a very good head coach in Rick Pitino there.
yeah,
I think that it's becoming a more desirable location. And yeah, I think a lot of like, I mean, in any of these schools, a lot of the guys that are up there, they're not going to be there for very long.
Oh, I agree.
Um,
Yeah, I totally.
whether it's NBA or transfer portal, like
Yeah,
they're not going to be there that long. But I think that he's starting to really rebuild the program there. So
yeah.
I think I think you're looking next year. Imagine they make the Final Four next year. They make kind
Wow.
of a deeper run. That'll definitely capture the attention of a lot of people.
No doubt. And the thing that really could be more important to St. John's, right? You hate to just talk about money, but college basketball is all about money now anyway. And you get a moment like what happened with Boozer, you realize, right, these are kids, man, playing in these huge arenas and this weekend they're going to be playing in front of 80,000 people in Indianapolis. So and these are kids, these are 18-year-olds, 19-year-old kids, but with St. John's, when you think about it, I've been to that arena in the Carnesecca arena on the campus of St. John's. It's 5,000 seats, right? So it's intimate. It's a nice place to watch a basketball game. But St. John's over the last several years played most of their games there. You remember they used to play most of their games in Madison Square Garden in a sold out Madison Square Garden. So you think about selling out 19,000 seats in the Garden as opposed to the 5,000 in Carnesecca Arena. You could see St. John's will probably play most of their games in the Garden next year because they'll sell out. There was that much interest, I think, in them. And Rick Pitino, what an amazing, amazing job he's done. Um, so Michigan, Arizona is one of the Final Fours. The other is UConn and the Illini, and I think UConn will handle the Illini, who's a really good team. Although we saw right these top players that you'll hear their names in June at the draft, they kind of got picked off one by one, starting with the guy from BYU and then the guy from Kansas. Now the guys from Duke, the guy from North Carolina was really good. Um, so the Illini just has a really, really good team. They pass well. They play great defense. But I think UConn, with their big men inside, I think are gonna. I don't know that they're gonna dominate that game because Illinois is there for a reason. They have an excellent coach as well. But the Michigan Arizona game is amazing. Kenny, I was stunned how easily Arizona handled Arkansas because I thought Calipari had a plan. They also have a great player, Arkansas, but uh, Arizona probably has three guys that are going to go to the NBA, and they just play so well together, and they've been the most consistent team all year. So it's hard to not pick them to take this all this weekend. But Michigan, I'm going to be using them for my inspiration in just a bit. What are your thoughts with this matchup, Michigan and Arizona?
I think it's hard to like. I don't want to say I think it's going to be better than the championship, but it
Might
might
be.
be.
Yeah, might be.
Um, 'Cause, like I mean, we see that sometimes in sports where you've got like the championship series or like the championship game or the semifinals is better than championship.
Yeah,
Um, but I don't know. It's going to be very interesting. I think this is. I had mentioned before some of the stars not really getting their shot. I think this might be that for especially the guys on Arizona.
oh yeah,
Michigan though is very interesting. They're very well coached,
yeah,
which I don't know. It's going to be a really
yeah.
honestly, it's going to be a fun weekend.
It really is. It really is. So I'm thinking it's a UConn Arizona final. Is probably most people are predicting that's a little chalky, and then I think Arizona will win that. But I think all these games are going to be close. I think Illinois is going to give UConn all they want. So it's been great. We'll talk obviously about the results next week. Are you ready to shift over to the NBA?
Yeah, I'll just add. I'll go
Yeah,
just to be slightly different.
yeah.
I'll go UConn, Michigan.
UConn, Michigan. Okay. Okay. That I mean, either one of these will be a great matchup. Even if the Illini knock off UConn, it'll be great to see them back in the championship game. What was the year? It was 20 some odd years, right? It didn't seem like it was that long that they were in the Final Four. It seemed like that was a while ago, but I think it was 21 years since they had been in the Final Four with D Brown and Deron Williams. But and I think they lost that to North Carolina, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so uh, NBA. Let's dive into the Jaden Ivey story first, and then we could talk briefly about Lakers Knicks. There's some big stories I think brewing in the NBA with only about 6 games left for most teams. Um, So Jaden Ivey, first of all, he was a top five pick. This was when Purdue started getting well, and they also almost got to the Final Four, right? Purdue, this is when they started getting good. Remember, he was a big player on there before Zach Edey came, and he had a great college career, and it paid off. He gets picked number five by the Pistons, and he's a good NBA player, right? Um, so help me out. The NBA has sort of like baseball where they LGBTQ nights, things like that they celebrate.
Yes, but like, because Pride Month is June, and like the NBA Finals like end in June, so it's not
Right.
like a. It's different, I think, from baseball. But I would have to look up to see if they actually do have. I'll do that now. I'll see if they actually have like specific Pride nights.
So for a while now, he's been open about his faith, right? And that hasn't. Now I hadn't read about that before, but as I was doing some digging to so that we could talk about it, he's been talking about his faith for several years, back when he was with the Pistons. And actually, I want to take that back when he was in college. So that's always been kind of a pillar for him. So what did he say? Was he criticizing his team or just the NBA overall? And I really didn't like what Billy Donovan said, and I love Billy Donovan. You and I do, right? But it just the story gets odd to me, where it seems to be pretty straightforward. He criticized that they're doing these events or whatever celebrating LGBTQ, therefore he gets cut. There's got to be more to it than that. So help me out.
Yeah, so he's gone on like multiple live streams, kind of saying a little bit of his testimony because he
Yeah,
mentions that like how God kind of saved him from a bad lifestyle that he had. He had like openly admitted to like abusing his wife and his kids. Didn't really get into detail on like what that looked like because like people are like, oh well, like he beat him, but we don't know that because he doesn't fully say that.
right.
He and I did look this up about what's the exact number? This thing has a billion ads. 21 teams hosted a Pride Month. This was last season, so nine didn't, and they do it kind of sporadically throughout the year.
Gotcha.
Um,
Okay.
we're mostly baseball. They'll do it in the month of June. Um, the NBA just they kind of pick a night and that's what they go with.
Right.
So he was very open about saying, I don't really support this because I believe it's like an abomination and like and also in here is condemning a lot of people like he's saying Steph Curry is not a true Christian.
Yeah,
He
I saw
is
that.
saying
Yeah.
um, all Catholics aren't true Christians, so all Catholics are going to hell. A lot of things similar to that, where it kind of came across as very like angry towards people. Now, as a pastor and as someone that has seen people that are like that, I think what's happening isn't so much because, like, some people are saying, because he also talked about his mental health and how he's struggled with anxiety, depression. Um, so people are saying it's a mental health thing. I think it's more he's trying to navigate his faith and he's recognizing that there are certain things and certain lifestyles that aren't congruent with the Christian lifestyle.
Hmm.
Um, and like there are times where there are people where they are very aggressive in saying like this is a sin and this is bad,
Right.
and there should be nothing wrong with you saying.
Right.
Now, I there's a lot of layers I think to this. I think first you mentioned first like a top pick, 17 points a game before he got injured. Like he's not a bad player by
That was
any
a very good
means.
player. Yeah.
Um, but I think it's a good example of that when your distraction outweighs your talent, that's when people are looking to get rid of you.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
Because like I think we saw that with Tim Tebow. I think we saw that with Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah.
But notice, like, remember all the controversy surrounding Kyrie? The Nets never even thought about cutting.
No.
Um,
No.
James Harden, like people are still trading for him despite all of the things like showing up in a fat suit and things like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah,
so it's unfair and it's not the standard that should be. But if your talent doesn't outweigh the distraction that you have, then people will look to get rid of you.
yeah,
What I wonder, because like if we're gonna take the story at what we know, where essentially he got because the Bulls were very clear about they're waiving him because of conduct detrimental to the team,
yeah,
which to me is also kind of interesting because typically when they say that, there's usually like he did this thing that kind of goes with it. Like if someone's suspended for conduct detrimental to the team, it's like, oh, oh, here's an example. When Domingo Herman got cut by the Yankees, they originally said it was that. And then it came out that like he showed up drunk and was like yelling at Aaron Boone and going
right,
crazy. Like,
right, right.
um, still, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. Fun fact, random, but Domingo Herman's last game that he pitched, that he started, was his perfect game.
This is perfect.
Um,
Right.
so, um, but with Jaden Ivey, if there isn't something that we don't know about, like whether there was like an incident behind the scenes that they're kind of keeping quiet, if he truly got cut because he believes that he is against the LGBTQ um, agenda, there's a problem here
Oh yeah,
because basically you are cutting him because of his religious beliefs. And if I'm him and if that's the reason, where's the lawsuit? Where's filing a grievance to the Players Association?
yeah.
Because like that to me is a bigger issue where people are getting cut based on their religious beliefs. And I don't know, maybe something else happened.
I
Um,
have to think that something else. I don't have to think that. I mean, because we're not going to know, right? But but based on this coach who has been around for a long time and has been a very kind of a steady guy. You never see a knee-jerk reaction from Billy Donovan from the time he's college coach to NBA coach. Um, so what he said was that he has every right to disagree with, however the league or the Bulls are celebrating the LGBTQ community. He said he has every right to do that. He said, but when it crosses a line of unprofessionalism, is where he thought that a line had been crossed. Now, we're not sure what that line is, that was crossed, right? I have to think that that was maybe something behind the scenes. So we'll leave that there, right? Because we just don't know. And I'll add into that. I mean, the Bulls have had him for a minute, right? So they ain't got no loyalty to him. Now they're cutting. I mean, the Bulls are gonna. Who knows what they're gonna do next year? They're obviously retooling, rebuilding, but he's a very good player to just cut loose, right? And they say he's gonna get paid his whole salary for this year. I think what'll start to get interesting is that he's a free agent now, after this year. Will another team take a shot on him? But I think that's going to depend on another team calling up the Bulls and saying, well, you said he was unprofessional. What else did he say? One of the things as a pastor that I disagreed with Jaden Ivey, and I had to listen to it a couple of times to make sure I got it right. So I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit here, but he said that for folks that are still sinning, they're not Christians. And pastorally, nothing could be further from the truth, right? We all sin each and every day. And, when it comes to LGBTQ stuff, I know you kind of fall along the same lines. Your sin is no greater than mine, right? So I want you to come to church, come on in, because I want you to hear the word of God. So I've either way, I had to listen to that a couple of times because I'm like, wait a minute, that's that's not correct. So maybe that. So here's the point I'm getting to. I thought that he came off as enormously judgy. I think there's one thing to have your right to your own opinion, which he does have, right? But his seemed to be really extreme to me, and that's public. So I'm imagining behind the closed doors. I'm imagining that they called him in and said, "Listen, we've heard you on a few podcasts. Say what you got to say now, and you're offending some of the players or whatever." Now, the underlying issue is exactly what you said, right? Is do we get cut for just standing up for our religious beliefs? And I haven't really seen that too much yet over the years because we have had examples. Now, you also mentioned this when the talent outweighs, right? John Moran is still on the Memphis Grizzlies, right? He still has a job, right? So it's because of the enormous talent that he has. Um, but when you think about guys like who are outspoken, like Clayton Kershaw, Jacob DeGrom, they're still playing, but these are mega stars, right? I'm sorry, it's a different sport, but these are really big stars. And they've been pretty outspoken on stuff. And supposedly Brandon Nimmo was behind the scenes. And supposedly that's one of the reasons why the Mets traded him, right? They didn't cut him, and they gave him an option. They said, you can accept the trade or not. And he had a no trade clause. Um, I don't think that's why they traded him. I don't think they would have done that because Brandon Nimmo wasn't in front of cameras saying the things that Jaden Ivey was saying. So, but I think that if he did get cut just because I took that he's a little bit more of an extreme, um, because maybe of the things that's happened in his life. And you're right, he's been outspoken of the mistakes he's made. But now he's gone the total other way. And you and I have seen that, right? We see people that have come to church totally on fire and they go to like an extreme level, right? Of um I'm not quite sure how to put it, maybe except for him saying something like that if you can't sin at all because that means you're not Christian. Well, I mean, then we're misrepresenting the whole gospel, right? And what Jesus Christ stands for, and today, not just through this season, but what he stands for today. So I think it's an interesting story. I hate that it happened, and I think that the Bulls. I think had he still been on the Pistons, Kenny, I'll just say this and then I'll let you close this part out. We'll talk about some of the other NBA stuff. Um, I think had he still been on the Pistons, that maybe there would have been a little bit more grace, and that some of the Piston players who knew him well, and they've got some leaders on that team like Cunningham, like Isaiah Stewart, guys that have been there for a while. Jared Durant, not Jared Durant, Jalen Durant. Um, I think that, maybe there would have been a little bit more grace because they know him for 4 years, almost 4 years he was with Detroit. But I think here now he's on the Bulls. They're in a lot of transition. Donovan might have been, I don't need the headache, man. I don't know what he's talking about, And we're gonna pay him for the year. Good. Let's send him home, because I'd rather lose these last 6 games without him anyway. You know what I mean? Um, what's your final takeaway?
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing. It must have been a very tenuous situation where, because like you couldn't have let this, like the Bulls aren't going anywhere.
No.
Like I think they'll make the play in, right? Isn't that
They might make the play. I think they're making the play in, yeah. But they I'll look that up while you're talking, but go ahead.
so? Like it must have been pretty tenuous to not say, let's deal with this in 3 weeks versus now.
Yeah.
Um, last two things I'll say. Um, so once again, we don't know. Um, I wonder if it's someone on the Bulls that is like that might be in the closet that
Yeah.
is
Could
hearing
be.
this and is really
Yeah.
getting hurt by it.
Absolutely.
Now, I what he said in general, like as far as like the LGBTQ stuff, okay. Like I don't disagree with him. But also we do know that there's probably a better way to say it
Yeah.
versus just like in that form. And that kind of brings me to my last point on it, and then I'll stop talking about it. If I am an athlete, I'm not doing lives on social media.
No.
Um,
Oh,
like
no.
that's what got John Morant in trouble.
Yeah.
Honestly, not even
Oh,
just an athlete, if you are a famous person, because that also is what got Shannon Sharp in trouble for a
yeah.
second there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
just put the lives away. If
Yeah.
you're doing social media, have someone do it and approve it. Don't just go crazy and do it yourself.
Don't do it live
Um,
either. You're right. Yeah. Yeah. You brought up an outstanding point. We'd be totally naive to think that as we sit here today, there aren't um, gay athletes on teams. And then maybe, I mean, I didn't think about that because Ivy, from what I saw, and I think I can comfortably draw this conclusion, he got no filter. He's just saying, and that also is not a great witness at times because it does come off as not compassionate, right? But he's telling the truth, right? He's thinking, hey, I'm just gonna tell it like it is up front or whatever. And I didn't think about that. There could be somebody in their locker room that he deeply offended, that that Donovan maybe had no choice. I'm guessing it was more Billy Donovan's call to do this, right? Because he's been with the Bulls now for a little while. They haven't let him go, despite the fact that they lose every year. Um, and no, they're not making a play in this year. They're 29 and 47. And number 10 team is Miami. They're 40 and 37. So they're mathematically out. The Bulls stink. I mean, I'm sorry. The Bulls had something going and they traded away, DeMar DeRozan, Zach, your guy that I know you never liked as a player too much, but now I listen, they got to retool, the Bulls do. So, interesting story. We'll follow it, see what happens. I think to me the next step is does he get another job in the NBA? And I would hope that he does. He's a very good player, you know. But I also hope that his wife or his agent, someone close to him says, you can speak your faith. But I mean, there's outspoken faith leaders in the NBA, Curry being one. Who's the guy we talked about on the Magic? We talked about him a few weeks ago that has the new sneakers, that has scripture on it. Jonathan is his first name. It'll come to me.
Isaac.
Jonathan, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, well, and I think that's maybe probably a bigger thing this summer. Jaden Ivey, get discipleship.
Yeah.
Find a good Bible believing church that can help take you in and like just bring about that process of learning more about the scripture because it seems like he's taken a deep dive and that's great and that's awesome and it'll change your life.
Yeah.
um but discipleship also doesn't happen via live on Instagram.
No,
Like it's got to be in person.
totally
It's got
agree.
to be with someone
Totally agree.
that's anchored in the Lord. So
He can do a lot with that outspokenness for the kingdom, down the road. I mean, you look at Jameis Winston. I hope he gets a job in TV now because I mean, he's quite a good witness. And I'm not saying Ivy isn't because there are things that he talked about that should be non-negotiable, right? But you also have to speak in love too, right? Yes. Anyway, all right. The Lakers, man, going 16 and 2. They're on fire. The Knicks, they won last night, but I didn't like the sign of the loss to OKC, but I especially didn't like the loss to Houston the other night. OKC, speaking of them, they've got back-to-back 60-win seasons, which is quite an achievement. Um, and then the last thing I want to ask you is who's the MVP now, right? Is it SGA? Is it Luka Doncic now? Is it is it the Joker, Jokic? I mean, because I think Cunningham is out of the conversation. I'm surprised Jalen Brunson hasn't been more in the conversation, but he's not going to win it as much as we'd love him to see him do it. Um, what say you? You can hit on either one of those. Are the Lakers now a team that you could see maybe beating OKC in a Western Conference Finals, or are we seeing a little bit of an aberration here?
I think the Lakers can make a run. um I think this stretch in March is something that is very special. I'll see if I can pull up his numbers. Luka Doncic in March might have really helped his case here.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not. He had three straight 40-point games in March, totaled over 600 points in the month of March, which is insane.
I think they
Um,
lost only once, right? In March, the Lakers, I think they only lost one game.
yeah. So, if you had asked me a month ago, I would have said, I don't know, probably Cade or SGA. I would say I think that it probably should be Joker because he's clinched a another triple double for the
I mean, that's
season.
incredible, right?
I think they said also he would be the first guy to lead the league in rebounds and assists per game. Um, which
It's
that's quite
amazing.
the feat.
That's amazing.
Um,
I left out Wimbenyama. Wimbenyama. What do you think?
is he going to be eligible?
I think so.
That that would be my only question. But still, I mean, people will like the story of Luca carrying the Lakers to potentially the two seed if they can get there. I don't know if they can
They
get
might.
there or not.
I don't think they can, but
Um,
they'll be close.
but like having this type of resurgence, I think
Yeah.
people like that story better than Joker winning his fourth. So, and I think that the writers have been dying to give Luka Doncic an MVP.
Yeah.
And he'll end up being eligible. I think he needs to play two more games in their last like six. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
Yeah. Yeah, the Lakers aren't going
I
to get the two seed. San Antonio's 58 and 18, and the
oh
Lakers
yeah,
are
they're not
50 and
getting there.
26, which is great. So I think one and two seeds are well, San Antonio could still catch OKC for the one seed. I don't think it's going to happen, but I mean they're only two games behind, you know. So, um, but I think the Lakers will be entrenched in that number three seed. Denver's 49 and 28. So you figure that's a game and a half lead they have, on them. I mean, a lot can happen, but that's going to be, I think, the only jockeying. Houston, I don't think, and Minnesota are going to move up. I think they'll be, 5 and 6, and then let the playing guys fight it out. Um, so you're thinking the Lakers can make a run to the conference finals?
I think they have a shot. I don't know if they will,
Yeah,
but like if we're sitting here in late May and we're talking Lakers Spurs, I wouldn't be that surprised. Well, I guess it wouldn't be Lakers Spurs, but like Lakers OKC, I wouldn't be that surprised.
would it be Lakers OKC in the second round since they're a three seed, they're the one seed, or is that the four seed that would
They,
it would be the four seed, right? That would
yeah, they
play,
would
and
have to be the four seed,
it would be 2-3. So it would be Lakers San Antonio potentially in the second round. Oh my gosh.
which like playoff LeBron where he doesn't have to do as much,
Yeah.
and playoff Luca
Yeah.
against a team that's never really like Wemby's never been in the postseason. So
Yeah.
like the experience there could really make a difference.
Man, oh man. I mean, we think we just had some fun basketball with the tournament. We've got some fun basketball coming up. Any concerns about the Knicks?
Uh yeah, I don't know. It's really hard for me to gauge any of these Eastern Conference teams. Because like you look at the Pistons and it's like I don't like Cade is gonna be out at least another week.
They're still winning.
Even if he
Yeah.
like they're still winning, but
Yeah.
like can they pull off a full series? I don't know. Um and then you got the Celtics, like the Celtics look the scariest.
Yeah.
Um Jason Tatum had a triple double the other night. Like I don't know. And then you got the Cavs, the surging Hawks. Um, the 76ers scare me as a first round matchup, and
Yeah.
that might be what we end up with, them or Toronto. I don't know.
I don't know.
I feel like the Knicks have been very roller coasty this year.
They
Like,
have. Um, and
like let's get the swoon now and then get to the playoffs and catch on fire.
I think they will. I mean, because they were hot for a long time, right? They won nine in a row or nine out of 10. And then they kind of gone on this stretch. So I honestly don't know what to make of the Knicks. I think that matchup wise, they're a nightmare for every team in the East. I mean, pick a team. I think even Detroit, you know, and but that. I tell you, man, I hate to put it on two players, but I think the Knicks' postseason success totally lies on the shoulders of Karl Anthony Towns and totally lies on the shoulders of Mikal Bridges. I just, Bridges now, these last couple of games, he looks like himself again. I don't know what's happened to him most of this year. Um, but Towns needs to get the ball more and he needs to demand the ball more, especially when Brunson is not on the floor. I think last night he had a weird stat line where he had maybe it was 19 points. He had about 12, 13 rebounds, and he had 7 or 8 assists, but then he had also 7 turnovers. And so, that's what you don't want to see because that'll win you a random game at the beginning of April against Memphis, who's tanking. Um, that's not going to win you, sometime in the middle of May against the Celtics. So anyway, I still have high hopes to get to the finals. I'm cautiously optimistic though, instead of like fully optimistic, because I just it's hard to turn it on and off. And this Nick team seems to do that, right? They seem to like go through games in spurts where they are like, oh my gosh, this is one of the best teams in the league. But then they'll go through games where it was right there for them to beat OKC. When they went ahead a little bit after halftime, after they have been down and they're fighting and they're clawing and they've got OKC on the ropes, and then they just can't hit a shot, and their defense then just looks shoddy, and then they keep turning the ball over. You can't do that against, the defending champions. So not saying you have to play a perfect game, but it's got to be a near perfect game, right, to beat them. So, you know, all right. Um, let's do some baseball. Let me get your chart up. And while I get that up, what has, I have to go and highlight it. What has surprised you in this first week?
I think one of the biggest surprises for me has been the how much I've liked the ABS system. Um, because like it really has been
Yeah,
absolutely
I'm with
like
you. Yeah,
without a doubt, like since Manfred's taken over, has been the best change to baseball. Like the pitch clock, I think, has kind of become like obsolete, like not obsolete, but like very in the background. Um, the ghost runner on second base has been nice to not have 8,000 inning games.
yeah,
Um, but like the ABS, I think even though it takes a little bit of extra time, has been really, really good.
yeah, yeah,
I like the idea that because you could probably think of a handful of plays where, man, if that was called right in that situation, would
yeah,
things have been different?
yeah,
And now we can actually see how that plays
yeah,
out.
yeah,
The only I know there's been some people that have said uh, they should just make every pitch it. I don't think they should do every pitch because I think there's still some strategy involved. You still have the human element of framing, and are you going to use your second challenge in the first inning, like stuff like that.
yeah.
Um, but I think having it in here, maybe I would add a third because like there might be an egregious call that you're afraid to challenge in the second or third inning because you already lost one. But also, if it's bad, just do it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but I think the biggest thing is it exposes the bad umpires,
Okay.
and it
Yeah,
and more than just exposes them, I think it gives them a lot more accountability. The
yeah,
Yankee game a couple nights ago, there was like a high pitch that was called a strike, challenged and overturned to a ball. Similar pitch comes up, and then the umpire calls it a ball. Like that to me is the system at play.
right. This is
Um,
at work. Right, right. Yeah.
rough week for CB Buckner though,
Oh
who
my gosh.
um, 20 pitches that could have been overturned throughout his game,
I
and then as one of the worst calls I've ever seen in a
yeah,
baseball.
the first base thing. Yeah. I always thought he was a good umpire too, man. But I'm like, wow. That one way he's looking the other way instead of seeing whether he touched the bag and then he says he didn't touch the bag. That's a head scratcher for me, right? I and I, I I I don't know. Anyway, all right, let's take a look at
Yeah.
the charts here.
The other one, it wasn't Buckner, but it was another weird one where Um, the guy struck out and ended up walking because everyone lost track of the count. It was strike one, strike two, strike three,
Yeah.
ball one, ball two, ball three, take your base. Um, Weird. All right. Bottom tier. Thank you, fans. I think of that email that you see after the season's over, and they say thank you for
Wow.
the best fans in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know. These five teams, it kind of feels like their season's over. The A's were the last team to win a game this year. I feel bad.
Very
I
talented
really,
team. Yeah.
they're talented, and it's still early. Like things could
Yeah.
change,
No,
but it
that's
just kind
okay.
of feels like
We're having some fun here. That's okay.
um, the White Sox. I think one of the biggest highlights, Murakami. I don't know how to pronounce his first name.
Yeah.
Three home runs in his first three games.
Right.
Him and another player who I'll talk about later are one of four guys to ever do that in a baseball season. So to start out their season. So
Okay.
good for him. Might be their only highlight of the year. The Rockies, can you name five Rockies right now?
I cannot.
That's an issue to me. Like, I don't even know if I can name like two.
Yeah.
Um, but they're there. You got the Twins. Also, I don't know what to say. The Nationals have been at least somewhat interesting, but still, like, it just kind of feels like it's over. Um, the next tier, give me till the end of April. These teams haven't gotten off to a great start, but that doesn't mean that it's all doom and gloom because there's only 1 week. We're only 1 week into the season.
Yeah.
The Diamondbacks, you got to get a little healthier and hoping things kind of turn around there.
Yeah.
Although your division's over already. Um, the Red Sox, technically they're in last place right now,
Yeah, 1-5. Yeah.
um, but they still have a really good team.
Yeah.
So it's like if they're like 2-16, then yes, be worried about them.
Yeah.
But
I don't think
give
that's
it
gonna
till the
happen.
end of April.
Yeah.
The Reds too. I mean,
Yeah.
they were a good team last year. It's still early. Give them time. The Padres, I think the Padres might be the most alarming here because it's like I don't know if they're actually going to stay where they are or they'll actually improve. And then you got the Giants. The Giants actually scored runs,
Yeah.
so good for
Yeah.
them.
He won a couple games
Um,
now. Yeah. Yeah.
so they just hit the buzzsaw of the Yankee pitching.
Yeah.
So we'll see how things go. Battelle is only 6 games into his career, so
Did
we'll
you
see.
see Matt Chapman yelling at his first baseman on the mound? Did you see the video of that? Catch the you know
Yeah,
what ball. And he doesn't cover his lips like they all do, right? With the glove. So it was
yeah,
right out there for everybody to see, you know. Just like I saw the video with Cody Bellinger getting thrown out at second base by Raleigh on a steal. And he said, "Man, that was a perfect throw." And you could tell
yeah,
that's exactly what he said. But I think that's kind of fun when they don't cover their mouth and you can tell what they say.
yeah. Because like most people can't read lips anyway,
No,
so like
no,
you're just hurting your own self.
no, yeah,
Like you're not being that discreet.
no,
Um, Next tier is promising. I think these teams have at least gotten off to a promising start, and they have promising players.
yeah,
The Orioles, shout out to Pete Alonso with his first home run as an Orioles. Sorry.
yeah.
Um,
You have a big year.
Bobby Witt. Bobby Witt's fun. He's, I think, one of the more exciting players to watch. I liked watching him on Team USA.
Yeah,
Um, Shout out to the Angels. Shout out to Mike Trout.
yeah,
Um, are we looking at a renaissance year? Comeback player of the year, top five MVP finish? It's not unheard of,
right.
especially if you could stay healthy.
Yeah,
Um, the Pirates, Connor Griffin, who's the top prospect in baseball, has been called up. 19 years old. He is going to be the youngest player since Juan Soto. He's the first teenager since Juan Soto, the youngest player to start this early in a season since Hall of Famer Andrew Jones.
wow.
So good for
Anxious,
him.
anxious to see him. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that'll be a lot of fun. Hopefully, between him and Skeens, they can start to turn around the very slow moving pirate ship.
yeah, yeah,
Um, the Rays, I think they're promising. I don't really. They're also a team like I'll know them more after the Yankees play them. but it always seems like they have a revolving door of like random players you don't know but are really good.
Yeah.
Um, Hot start. These four teams have gotten off to a good start. I was very low on the Braves, and the Braves seem to do well. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little too harsh on them,
Yeah.
but they're there. The
Yeah.
Astros, I mean, the Astros always seem to get off to a hot start. Um, the Cardinals, they haven't gotten off to a hot start, but they've gotten off to a hotter start than I thought they
Yeah.
would.
Two out of three from the Mets. So
Yeah. So shout out to them. I mean, and then also Texas. Texas, I think their starting pitching seems to be their backbone a little bit.
yeah.
After 3 years ago, they won the World Series more on their offense. It seems like their starting pitching is there.
Yeah.
DeGrom stays healthy, they're going to be dangerous. Um, Bad week, not a bad team.
Yeah.
Um, you can look and you can say, yeah, it was a rough week, but also that's what happens in baseball.
Yeah.
I mean, we can start with the Mets here.
Oh, yeah.
Mets fans, stop booing Bo Bichette.
I know.
If you want him to stay long term, you have to be. You don't have to go like Trey Turner and like cheer him into a rally or into a hot start, but like he's 2 games in. Like, give him a break.
I'm sitting at
Uh,
home in my living room and I'm embarrassed. You know, I'm like,
yeah,
come on, we're better than that. Come on. Yeah.
it's giving Carlos Beltran getting booed on
Oh,
opening day to start his second year.
man.
Like,
Yeah.
I understand there's a lot of high expectations, but just give it a little bit of time.
Yeah.
It's a bad week, not a bad team. The Phillies, too. I mean, I'm still pretty high on the Phillies.
Yeah.
Same with the Cubs. I mean, it's just been a rough week. Although with the Guardians, I think one of the harder stretches that you can get. This is who they're starting the season off against. They started at Seattle, at the Dodgers, and their home opener is going to be tomorrow against the Cubs.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
that's brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so we'll see how it goes. But the other guy that did it, rookie Chase DeLauter, homered in his first 3 games.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of hype already about this rookie class, and I think it's going to be one of those where it's like, oh wow, there's a
Yeah.
lot of good guys from this class.
Yeah.
Mariners, I mean, they didn't really do much against the Yankees, but and they split against the Guardians. Good teams. You can't really do much with it. Same with Detroit. There's not much to really get upset about. Um, Top five, all of these teams have 5 wins, except for the Blue Jays. I'll start with the Dodgers because probably the most unfair stat you'll hear all day. Um, do you know who has the current active longest shutout innings streak?
Um. Oh, Shohei probably, right?
Shohei Ohtani. You know who has the longest active on base streak?
Probably Shohei Ohtani.
Shohei Ohtani. Like that's not fair.
Uh, I
Um, but whatever.
I don't even know what to say, man. He said he wants to win a Cy Young, so let's see.
22 straight shutout innings for Shohei Ohtani, and I
Wow,
think it's 39 straight games of being on base. It's insane.
man, oh,
Um, but also what's insane, 0.53 ERA for the Yankee starters through the first 6 games.
incredible. Yeah,
Um, Cam Schlittler and Max Fried have combined for 25 shutout innings. That's your ace one and your ace 1A right there.
yeah,
And you're also adding at some point throughout the year Carlos Rodon, who was an all-star last year, and Garrett Cole, who won a Cy Young not too long ago.
yeah,
The rotation is looking great.
yeah,
Um, the lineup has been pretty good. What like shout out Ben Rice, Cody Bellinger, but I think what's so promising about the Yankees right now is that they're doing all of this with Aaron Judge still batting in like the 150s. And
yeah.
I'm not worried about him.
No,
He started an MVP candidacy, I think 2024, where he was like awful for the first month. So I'm not worried about him.
no,
And I'm sure he doesn't care because they're winning.
yeah,
Um, the Blue Jays, I don't really have much to say about them other than Dylan Cease had a really good start to his season. We talked about the Marlins with Sandy Alcantara, 22 innings so far this year, 0 runs.
wow.
He's been incredible. Not
Yeah,
2020s. I think it's 15 or something like
15. Yeah,
that. And then the Brewers. The Brewers are 5-1.
five and
I don't
one.
know how they do it.
Yeah, yeah. Freddie Peralta and Tobias Myers have been both excellent for the Mets so far. You know, uh, I think you did a great job with those. I don't have any notice. I didn't have really anything to say. I think it's one weekend and we can have some fun, but I think you ranked them exactly right. Um, the Mets just haven't hit except, for day one. But I think they will. And so I'm not really concerned about them. Here's the thing though. It's the opposite with the Yankees because I think the Yankees can pitch like this pretty much all year. Not .53, but I think that this Yankee pitching is going to dominate all year long. I really do. And like you said, man, you got two. You don't have two scrubs coming back. You have two potential Cy Young winners. I know Rodon has never won it. Rodon has always been good. And so I have some very high hopes in what this Yankee season is going to turn around to. And the Red Sox better
Um,
watch out. They better it'll get late early for the Red Sox. For sure.
yeah. Another set too with the Yankees. Starting out 5-1 with at least an 18 run differential, which is what they have right now. They've done that like 4 or 5 times in their history. Every time they made it, they've won the world or made it to the World Series.
Yeah.
Last one, 2003, I believe.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. Interesting. I'm so glad baseball is back, though. It's so much fun.
Oh yeah,
Mets are on the West Coast now playing the Giants this weekend. So a lot that I won't see these next couple of nights. I'll see some of it tonight because it starts, I think, an hour earlier tonight. But the second part of the NBC doubleheader the other night was one of those games that started at 11 p.m.
oof.
And it started like 10 after 11. Not even at 11. Not that I was up. I forgot who it was. It was Portland and somebody. Maybe Portland and Denver. I was like, wow, that's they don't even try for 10, 10, 15 anymore. All right, great stuff. You ready for inspiration?
Let's do it.
All right, mine is very quick. My inspiration is Dusty May at Michigan, and it's a little different because it doesn't really involve faith, I don't think. I couldn't find anything much about Dusty May's faith, and he kind of came out of nowhere. I forgot what college he was at before. He was at a smaller college. And Jawan Howard, who I really liked, was the coach before that. But he didn't do well. He was a Michigan hero, played there, the Fab Five when they went to two straight Final Fours in the early 90s. Good NBA career. Gets into coaching and lands a head spot there, but it was one thing after another, unfortunately, with him. So Dusty May, though, comes in here. Kenny, did you realize this? Dusty May's first year, 2 years ago, Michigan was 1-31. That was their
Oof.
record for the year. 1-31, and in 2 years they find themselves in the Final Four. That enough is inspiration. This guy is very positive. He believes in really complimenting his players and building them up. He said that all of a sudden, as he went into his second year, uh, players wanted to come to Michigan because he felt like he didn't say this about Juwan Howard, but he felt like Michigan for years had been overlooking all the great talent right there in the state of Michigan. And so most of their players, and you'll see this on Saturday night, most of their players are from Michigan. So I think he's doing an incredible job just to go from 1-31. And I remember that guy didn't have much success after, but there was a coach, what was it, Central Florida or South Florida? They hadn't won a game in 2 years, and then they went undefeated. Do you remember that? Maybe about 7, 8 years ago, probably a little longer than that. Maybe I'm forgetting his
Yeah.
name. Scott. He was a quarterback of Nebraska, and then he went back to Nebraska and didn't do well. And they wound up letting him go. Um, but this is that type of turnaround. If they win the championship this year, I mean, you'll hear more about that 1-31 than I had to dig for that. I had to read that twice. I was like, they were 1-31. I don't remember that. Michigan was 1-31. I mean, because they also have always been pretty good in the NCAA tournament. Michigan State probably a little bit more success in basketball than Michigan, but Dusty May, the Michigan Wolverines, going to the Final Four after being 1-31 2 years ago. That's inspiration today.
What a crazy story. I didn't realize that they were that bad.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah.
Um, my inspiration comes from someone that I don't like, but I guess I have to like him. Um, and that's one Carlos Correa.
Oh,
Um,
oh,
so
that's a
I told
great
you about this.
story.
I kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
I kind of gave a little bit of a preview to you, but over the summer, while he's still in Minnesota, um, he was out on his boat with his son, and they're swimming out too far. His son has a life jacket, but he doesn't, and he starts cramping up in the middle of this lake in Minnesota, like fighting for his life, close to drowning. And so he eventually gets over to like a buoy and is like trying to yell for help. And as he's doing this, he also says to the Lord, like, Lord, save me. If you save me, I'm going to be more devoted to you. And sure enough, just like as he's kind of getting his last breath and is like kind of falling under the water, his father-in-law sees him off to the distance, goes, saves him. No further, like no significant injuries. Like he kind of hurt his hand, but um, was able to like survive. And he said, really, from that moment on, which was not that long, but about 5 or 6 months, he said that he was like 100% on fire for God. That
Hmm.
like that was one of those wake up moments. He had said that like he always believed in God, but never like kind of took it seriously. But since then, he's decided to be like 100% devoted to Jesus. So
Wow.
this is a story that's come up a couple times. He actually shared this at like a Bible study with people in Houston, and then also at spring training right before the season started. So
Wow.
um,
What a
I
story.
do hope that he continues to grow in his faith, um, and yeah, he
Yeah.
said this quote here: "Some storms don't come in your life to drown you.
Wow.
Some are there to overcome." So
Yeah.
there we go, Carlos Correa.
What
I
an
guess I like you a little bit more.
incredible story. Wow. I did not, I didn't hear about that last summer. I didn't know anything about that. What an amazing story. And I have to say, you've been consistent, man. Jose Altuve, George Springer, uh, Alex Bregman, um, and Carlos Correa. Although you've been forgiving with that Garrett Cole happened to be on those teams as well, but you've embraced him. So.
Yeah, well, but also he wasn't the one banging trash cans. So
No, no. And you like Carlos Beltran, even though he was kind of the guy that led the charge there.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's an amazing story. And yeah, I got nothing to add. Well, that's an amazing story. All right. Next week, lots of great stuff to talk about, right? Well, Final Four will be under our belt. Playoff picture in the NBA will come a little bit more into play. We could get a little bit into hockey because I sent Larry, shout out to Larry. I know he's gonna watch this, listen later. Because I'm so confused at hockey, why they still fight in the NHL. Because there was some really bad incidents. I don't know if you saw the goalies, the Devils and the Rangers go duking it out. And I mean, they got into a brawl. And then the guy who cross-checked the guy in the knee, and then the guy pummeled him in the opening face-off. And then they fire. Did you see the Vegas Knights, who were champs only a couple of years ago, right? They're going into the playoffs, but they fired their coach with just a few games left, and they hired John Tortorella, who's a great coach. There's just some weird things that happen only in the NHL that don't happen in other sports that I want us to get into next week. See if we can get Larry to chime in and give us his opinion, on that because he would know that more than I do. So, but we'll get into a lot of other different stuff next week. You ready to take us home?
yeah. One quick thing: last 101 games, the Miami Marlins have a better record than the Los Angeles Dodgers. So I meant to
No,
mention that
no, really?
by
Wow.
one game.
Yeah,
But yeah,
Ken, they're going to be a handful this year. They are going to be a handful. Wow. That is the most stunning stat I've heard in a long time. You know, ah, we'll just let that sit there. Go ahead and take us home.
yeah. So this is Kenny Squared N
Kenny.
with Sports on the Positive Tip. We will see you next time.